Judge Joe Brown.
Putting a roof over her family leaves a young woman financially exposed. Design engineer Sohei Edigan suing her aunt for back rent, fees, and damages. Defendant Kelly Norris says he lost a job. Now it's Joe time.
Miss Edigan, you're suing your aunt, Ms. North.
Yes.
A family feud, I take it. You first.
I purchased a home for my grandmother in
And you're
October.
31 now.
I'm 31 now. October of 2007, and my grandmother moved in, and she lived there until she passed in April of 2009.
I'm sorry.
Me too. A week after she passed, the tenant upstairs passed away as well. So I was left with an empty house with 2 available units in it. I went home in the middle of May to clean up the upstairs apartment. We still had a lot of stuff in my grandmother's apartment that we were taking a long time to go through, but...
You're an industrial engineer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, please.
And so after I cleaned out the apartment, my mom asked if my aunt could stay there, just to help her get on her feet.
That's the defendant?
Yes, sir, my Aunt Kelly. And so I said she could stay there for a couple of weeks. And after she stayed there for a couple of weeks, she said, well, what would I need to do if I wanted to rent out the place? I don't like mixing family and business, but she was already there. It wasn't that I didn't need a tenant, but I thought I could find one just fine on my own. But I did have her sign a lease agreement.
I have a copy.
On May 31st.
It is a binding lease.
We signed the lease agreement, and she paid June's rent with no problem, no issue. She was supposed to pay the deposit over the course of 2 months, and that did not happen. And then when July 1st came around, I got excuses. I'm going to pay. I've sent the money. It's on its way. I never received July's rent. And the 1st of August, it was actually August 3rd, I called her because her son had spent the summer with her, but he was back with me for the beginning of the school year, and I didn't want to have this conversation with her while her son was still there. So I told her I needed July's rent by the 10th, which was 1 week later, and I needed August rent by the end of the month.
Go ahead.
So I went home on August 22nd to serve her with notice to evict. At that time, I met with 3 people who were interested in renting the apartment. They were looking at my grandmother's apartment, which was now close to cleaned out. One of the people who actually came said that she would be interested in renting out the entire house. I hadn't thought about this. I explained to her that my aunt was upstairs, but I was in the middle of having her move, and it would be available for her on October 1st, but the downstairs unit would be available immediately. And she signed a lease agreement on August 28th to move into the upstairs and downstairs, which caused some issue between me and my aunt because she felt like she was being set up. At that point in time, the rent hadn't been paid, and if I had never found this lady, I still felt like we needed to dissolve that rental relationship that we had.
There's ample correspondence in writing, attempt to collect letter, and then there's some damage to the premises. You've submitted photos of that.
Yes, sir. After she had moved out, I didn't go back into the apartment until it was late October, but the apartment hadn't been cleaned. There was actually standing water in one of the sinks. The bathtub hadn't been cleaned out. There were tons of clothes and games and books and whatnot in the basement.
So all these existing things that she's mentioning, your judge, they're already there. They were there when I moved in. So, you know, the screen,
well, I
sink,
also have the
everything was there when I moved
guardianship
in.
instruments, hold on, from the state of Georgia, County of Fulton, assigning her the guardianship of your 2 minor children. And no child support has been paid. So you haven't been paying much of anything, have you?
Oh, this is the first I'm hearing of that. Of Georgia,
well, I guess it's the first time you heard that you had an obligation to pay rent. You didn't read the lease. You didn't read this.
Yeah, I did read the lease.
Well, then why is it you haven't paid her anything at all?
Because I lost my job, and that's why I hadn't paid her.
You what?
I lost my job, and between the time I moved in May or June, I lost my job. That's why I hadn't paid her.
Well,
and we talked about it, and she said, if you can pay me anything,
she's
pay me.
She's a 31-year-old, and she set up guardianship on an 18-year-old at the time, and a 12-year-old, and Mama's sitting there not paying any rent, not doing anything.
She's had my children way before my mom was passed away.
And then you want to get mad and say, hold on,
Judge,
she has no right.
She had my children before that. She didn't get my kids this last year. She got them before my mom passed.
Well, that's even worse.
Well,
so now one of them is 20 years old, only 11 years younger than her, and the other one's 14, and you've been getting a free ride, and then
No,
you
I
had a
haven't been getting a
nerve
free
to
ride, Your
complain
Honor.
that she
Her and my mom-
dared to
my mom
move in
decided
another
this.
tenant
They
to
decided this when I
interfere
moved back to
with your
Ohio, Your
quiet
Honor.
enjoyment.
No, her and my mom decided this.
Or did you have to go along with it?
Well, I think it was the best interest of
You're
my children at the
41
time,
years
Your
old.
Honor.
Why
Yes.
did you go along with it then?
The school systems in Georgia,
No, see, she has no excuse.
We'll be right back with Judge Joe Brown.
Oh,
She
don't
didn't raise
deceive
my
your
kids for
stupid
the last
self.
10
How
years,
big
Your
a
Honor.
fool can a fool
She
be?
hasn't had my kids for the last 10 years. Thank you very much.
You're in Webster's new dictionary. Picture of pathetic.
Wow.
Bad girls you love to hate today on Judge Joe Brown.
We are back with Judge Joe Brown. The plaintiff says she rented a house to her aunt. She says the defendant signed a lease, then left, owing for rent and damages. Let's take a look.
Your niece is a professional, college trained, an engineer, and you're unemployed, chronically unemployed. Why don't you get up off your lazy butt and work?
I'm not lazy, Your Honor. I'm not lazy.
Why haven't you gotten a job and paid child support to your niece for taking care of your children? And then why, when she's trying to get the mortgage paid for, do you get up in arms about how dare her bring in somebody else to live in the house?
She did. She did. She moved my things. She moved my mother things. She moved this lady in before we even got my mother things out, Your Honor.
You're the victim.
No, my mom was the
passed
victim.
in April, and this was in August, and I paid 4
And we
months of a full mortgage by
we
myself.
still had my mom things in there, and she moved someone in over my mom things,
Well,
and we
why
treated
didn't
everything.
you move your mama's stuff out since you're not working?
I didn't have a key,
It's
Your
your
Honor.
mother, you
I didn't have a
lazy
key, Your Honor.
scoundrel.
She didn't give
Why'd
me a key.
she have to
I
pay
didn't
for
have a
it?
key. Yeah, she didn't give me a key. She gave it to her mom and to my sister, and she didn't give me a key, and I was right upstairs
You know,
in the same dwelling. She didn't give me a key, Your Honor.
Sometimes it gets into not is the person a fool, but how big a fool are they? Use sorry excuse for somebody in her next generation up.
No, I'm not.
You let the family down.
No, she
You
let the family
have
down.
no job. She should have moved my mother's stuff out. You could have taken your lazy butt up there and done it. And then you
I didn't have
object
a
to
key,
her
Your
trying
Honor.
to get the
I didn't have
mortgage
a key,
paid
Your
by
Honor.
moving
She
in
didn't
a
give me a
tenant.
key to do
Oh,
that.
you've got an excuse for everything
Yeah, I
in
have
your
an excuse
sorry,
for that
pathetic
because she didn't
life.
give me a key to
You
do
failed
that.
as a mama. You failed
No, I'm
as an
not.
aunt.
No,
you
I'm not.
failed as a
No,
tenant.
I'm
Will
not.
keep
I've
failing.
never failed as a mother. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
well, then you haven't been one. Your niece
Yes,
has been
I
mother
have.
to your
Yes, I
children.
have.
Oh,
She
don't
didn't raise
deceive your
my kids for
stupid
the last
self.
10
How
years,
big
Your
a
Honor.
fool can a fool
She
be?
hasn't had my kids for the last 10 years. Thank you very much.
She's had them for 4.
4, yeah. She had them for 4 years, and I had them
Your
before that.
younger niece has had to take care of your kids.
Oh, she didn't have to
She's
take care of them.
31
She
in a
chose
position
that.
to
She
buy
chose
a
to do that.
house,
She
and
chose to do
your
that, Your Honor.
mother's
She
daughter,
chose to do
you
that.
couldn't do anything
chose
to
to do
help.
that.
You are pathetic.
No, I'm not.
I think you are.
No, I'm not. That's
How
your
many
opinion.
think she's
then.
pathetic?
That's your opinion.
Oh,
your
yeah. Pathetic. Definition, you're in Webster's new dictionary, picture of pathetic.
Wow. I better move to L.A. then. I guess that's what I need to do then, because there's no
I
jobs
guess
in
you
Ohio.
need to be grown and act like you are a responsible
I
adult
am.
instead of a burden on your family and society, and quit being pathetic and pitiful and carry your own weight. I guess that's a lot. Well, she's been carrying it up, and we have a new computation on it.
I spent over 8 hours
Should
cleaning
have
up that
claimed
apartment
it.
before you moved
All right,
in.
$3,500 at least is what you've suffered. $3,500 in your cost.
Thank you, Judge. And this courtroom is now in recess.
The bottom line, there is a valid lease. The defendant's name is on the dotted line. So the judge made the obvious decision and offered up some great life lessons.